Every so often, something happens in a person's life that leaves him forever changed. Lucky are the ones who are blessed by this good fortune. Many are the ones who are not. For us, it happened when we were boys, and it turned us into men. It happened on the upper school fields we call the pit. It happened in a small, rundown locker room. It happened because of him. When we played, we were heroes. We were icons. We were the herd. Part of a tradition that started over 44 years ago that turned boys into men and players into champions. And every year, as the faces changed, one thing stayed the same. The man who taught us to give more than we ever thought we had, who inspired us to be better people, not just better players. It was the man who spent 44 years making the herd, and all who wore its uniforms, a united fraternity of warriors, champions, and athletes who were proud to call themselves one of his. We were the herd, and at the heart of it all was Coach Wilkins.
As blocking, Williams takes on a tackler, and he'll score! Austin DeMarco sights on the end zone, and yeah, he's in! Touchdown, Mountain Lakes!
It's hard to describe to people who haven't been in this program because there's a lot of guys who played high school football, but they just don't get what we've gone through. I mean, 44 years of tradition just passed down the generations.
In the beginning, when we were playing in the 60s, he was a tough coach. If you didn't know what you were doing, he let you know it. And to see him grow and to get to the point where he is now, to be the type of coach he is, probably one of the best in the state of New Jersey.
There is no shortage of talent, speed, and tenacity on this field, and you saw
Amazingly, Mountain Lakes is out 20-0. He came to Mountain Lakes first as an assistant coach back in 1964, so you can't discuss Mountain Lakes football without him.
It all started in 1966 when a young Doug Wilkins became the head coach of Mountain Lakes football.
He was hardly older than his oldest player. I think he was 21 when he started coaching.
Although he wasn't a heck of a lot older than we were, he was a very, very fiery and competitive person. He had played at Roxbury High School, was known as a very tough guy.
We began the herd that year, and first year we weren't very successful. We were 2-7.
His first year they were just awful, and he didn't know what to do.
My freshman year, they only won 2 games. My sophomore year, we went 7-1-1.
The next year after that, somehow he turned it around and had a great season, and then just started building this momentum.
And then from then on, it was 9-1, 9-1.
He almost lost the job, he said, after year one, going only 2-6. Since then, he has 325 career wins, seeking his 4th title of Mountain Lakes.
After his first season, Coach realized that it wasn't the players who were unsuccessful, it was the program. The next year, he implemented a system that quickly turned the team around.
Let's go!
We always believe that we work the hardest. We always believe that we sacrifice the most.
This is a very rigorous program.
10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name.
that is a common bond throughout the entire history of the Herd football program, because there's been one leader.
It was an exhausting sport, you know, as far as when the season ended, you were relieved because you were mentally and physically exhausted.
There are a lot of kids on the team who are not necessarily athletes or football players, that they want to be part of something.
But it took your commitment. It took 100% dedication every time you stepped on the field.
The thing about Coach Wilkins is he didn't care if you were 6'4", 300 pounds, or 5'2", 140 pounds. If you committed to the program, you know, you were his guy.
Remember, every kid you put on the field is an endorsement of your philosophy. If you're saying, hey, I'm not going to play these jerks, and you're putting that kid in because, man, that kid is good, well, then the other kids are going to look at you. Hey, I'm doing everything that you tell me to do. And those are the kids that we are going to look to endorse. Those are the kids that we're going to break our back to see that they can get on the field. And we will teach them the skills that they need.
You know, people ask, well, why do you win every year? I say, well, we win because we play winners. Again, it's not about talent. It takes you 2 days to find out who your best football players are. But it goes beyond that. Some kids have the capability to be great, but you know, they just don't have it on the inside, you know.
The Herd proved year in and year out to be a winning team based not on talent, but commitment and hard work. Coach's program became legendary for turning average players into champions.
This Mountain Lakes football team, the Lakers, under head coach Doug Wilkins, a legendary coach in his 44th year.
As the reputation grew, so did the honor of being a herdsman.
One of the important things about being a herdsman was being part of something that was greater than yourself.
It was an honor. It was a lot of fun, and it was something that I'll never forget. It was something that you wanted to be a part of, you were proud to be a part of, and you earned your place there.
It was a culmination, I think, of growing up in this town and watching as a child the older guys play and always wondering and wanting to play, and then finally getting your chance to play.
To play for the Herd was something special. It was definitely the best time of my life. And you know, sitting here in the locker room and looking at the new names of these kids, and you know, they're lucky to be in this program.
I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's kind of like you learn everything. You learn football, you learn life.
Playing for the Herd, you know, you're part of a brotherhood that you really don't experience in any other sport.
As the years went on, Coach's methods proved consistently to be successful. He introduced many traditions that were used to unify and motivate the team. The first, however, was giving them a name.
What is required to play for the Herd is nothing more than what the acronym Herd stands for.
He started with this idea of the Herd, which it stands for, H is for hustle,
enthusiasm,
roughness,
desire.
Also, the D was for dedication.
And what we wanted to do is be something unique. So when they knew you heard the name Herd, it was Mountain Lakes football. And plus, I think, again, with all these traditions, the idea is to sell your philosophy to the kids. What's the point here? What am I trying to teach you here? And so the Herd idea, just by the name, the idea that we have a pack mentality. Later on, the buffalo became our symbol for the reason that the buffalo is a pack animal. The older, stronger buffaloes take care of the younger ones. You know, you block as one, you hit as one, you run as one. Everybody becomes faster. Everybody, that's how that's what a team is all about. I mean, you can feel it.
As the years went on, the team became shrouded in tradition. These traditions were used to unify the players, reminding them that they were playing not for themselves, But for every herdsman who played before them, the most prominent of these traditions are the flags.
There are a lot of great herd traditions out there. I think one of my favorite traditions is the flags.
In tonight's game, we have a tradition that's been going on for 41 years.
Where each team has their herd flag that we have on the spears that get planted in our field and our opponent's field.
You know, there's probably 45 flags on these spears here, and each one represents a piece of the past.
And that is a tradition that Doug Wilkins started himself. He was looking for some kind of spark, just something they can do every year, and it's turned into a huge thing.
To me, they represent basically what we were playing for in the years of tradition. To me, it was an honor just to hold that flag and that spear.
As the faces change, but everybody forms a bond and remembers, and I think that's what has helped them be successful. They play for one another so well.
The names and faces change of the players that are carrying it, but the tradition and the roadmap to success is exactly the same.
The 2010 team will be carrying out my 1991 flag on their spears. And in a sense, in a small sense, that statement is what the herd is all about, and what Coach Wilkins has really turned this program into. It's more than a football program. It's the Mountain Lakes Herd.
The entire point of this whole thing is to remind this team the program that they're representing and all of the people before them that have been as successful.
The Mud Run is an annual tradition and a rite of passage for a herdsman. Led by seniors in the preseason, the players get covered in mud, then run through town and arrive at the lake, where the community watches, cheers, and rallies their Mountain Lakes pride.
Yeah, we got a lot of traditions for the herd. One of my favorite parts, and this is kind of what like the whole unity and brotherhood really strives from, is skulls.
Another thing that we started here, we have what we call skulls. Every night before a game, we spend an hour here with the kids.
Stickers of stars and skulls were given to recognize a player's actions in the game played that week. They were specifically given out for the smaller, less glamorous things a player did that contributed to the team's success. These were added to a player's helmet throughout the year.
Your name might not have been in the paper, you may not have made it into the end zone, but there are little things that this program relies upon, be it tackles or sacks or whatever it may be, blocking downfield, that this program needs to acknowledge on a weekly basis to make sure everybody knows that your contribution is important.
And that is illustrated by their play on the field as well. Offensively, they spread the ball out. It's never about just one guy. You know, it's real selfless play, both sides of the ball, that make them so successful. Not one player wins a championship, it takes a team. And that's how Mountain Lakes plays. That's why they've been so successful time and time again.
Although many of the traditions were used to motivate the team, nothing got them fired up more than the ones in the locker room before the game.
To dream the impossible dream.
We would listen to a common song of The Impossible Dream.
The Impossible Dream.
The Impossible Dream.
I walked in the first morning that the first line of The Impossible Dream was on my locker.
To run where the brave dare not go. To right the unrightable wrong.
We've done it. We've got ourselves to this point here. This is our payday out here today. Simple as that. You know, we win because we deserve to win here.
And he talks to you, and then he starts playing The Impossible Dream just before we're about to go out of the locker room. You just get so fired up.
This is my quest to follow that star.
I mean, I would get my fingers would start to tingle.
You know, you get fired up and then you go flying out the door and down to the field to play the game. And
you were just drooling to go out there and play football.
You know, 40, 50 guys in one room, all the same dream in mind, and that's, you know, winning that game or, you know, going undefeated 12-0.
To reach the unreachable star.
That was the impossible dream, to have an undefeated season, winning every single game. Few teams in the history of football accomplished that. But in 2002, the Herd achieved the impossible dream.
I was the captain of that year, and we won all of our games. We went undefeated, 12-0 state champions, and it was the best time I've ever had in my life, I think.
This is another explosive play, touchdown!
Just at the end of the game, be able to look into his eyes, smile, and know that we accomplished what we set out to do. And that was 12-0 season, and then to finish that last game at home in front of our town, it was a special moment.
The Herd achieved the impossible dream, and then again in 2008 and 2009.
DeMarco, first down pickup, down the sideline. Austin DeMarco will score.
We really strive for excellence every year, and the past 2 years, luckily, that I've been a part of, we've achieved excellence. 12-0 perfect season both years.
This 11-0 team last year went 12-0 with a 35-21 win over Glen Rock in this championship. They carry a state-leading 24-game winning streak into the game. As blocking, McWilliams takes on a tackler, and he'll score! Touchdown, Mountain Lakes!
In 1978, a boy named Tommy Atkinson badly wanted to be part of the Herd. Tommy was a special needs student and couldn't play football, but Coach Wilkins found a spot for Tommy. Little did he know what an incredible commitment and friendship Tommy would give in return.
Tommy Atkinson is the main man after Coach Wilkins in this program.
Tommy was a special ed student, limited in some ways, like he was never able to get a license, and you know, college was not an option for him. And he came out and got involved with me starting in 1978 when he was still here.
I just wandered up one day, and our freshman coach at the time was a teacher, because I was in special ed. They had a special ed program in another school, and he just asked me.
During his high school career, Tommy became a crucial member of the program. In fact, Tommy remained a crucial member of the program for the next 30 years. He stayed with the team and Coach Wilkins until 2006.
And he was like the equipment manager. A helmet needed to be fixed. He would make sure the Gatorade was mixed. And he always had a job where he could be here for practice and, you know, was at all the games. And in the off season, we took him to clinics with us. He would remind me of all the things that I've got to do. I mean, he was like, you know, by the numbers. And, you know, he's obviously a good friend.
I think that what this program is all about can be summed up in the relationship that Coach Wilkins had with Tom.
Like a friend or a father type. Yeah, so he takes care of me.
And, you know, we gave him a place and we gave him value, and everybody was his protector.
Coach saw something in Tommy, and Tommy was just as dedicated as any player, and that's all he needed. And he gave Tommy 100%, just like he would his starting quarterback 100%.
He is just such a role model in that, hey, this is the cards I was dealt, and he played them the best that he could play them.
It was, as I mentioned, selfless on the part of Tom Atkinson. It was generous on the part of Coach Wilkins. It was an example of how two guys can get together and 1 + 1 will equal 3.
It's another example of rare commitment beyond any normal expectations when you talk about Tommy Atkinson.
We all love you, Coach. And if it wasn't for him, there would be no program like this.
The most important attribute of Coach Wilkins when it comes to dealing with the players is that he really generally cares for each of them.
You know, if a kid said to me, hey, look, I'm having a tough go, could you come here and be here in a minute? And I think that's what we all have, and I think they know that, and I know that. And boy, that's a great feeling.
See, everybody's got to take care of each other. When you're on a team, you got each other's back.
We treat the 63rd kid, you know, with the same respect as the #1 kid.
I think with high school football, it's like, it's not the NFL. It's not a rocket science. It's really about who works harder, who wants it more, who believes they can do it.
Coach Wilkins is certainly not in the business of producing NFL players, but we are in the business of trying to make, you know, better people and people who have a good work ethic and understand responsibility.
You didn't have to be the biggest, strongest, fastest athlete. We always told the kids we'd measure you by the size of your heart.
So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to ask you. I want you to pick somebody out in this group. And when I call on you, I want you to say something good, something positive about that person.
We would decorate the locker rooms every week. We'd write letters to the kids every week. Every kid got a letter. Every kid would get a note in their locker, a special note individualized to them. We did everything we could to make the kids feel good about themselves and the program.
All your decisions are going to be based on what is best for the team. And I think this is where you've got to train kids and create a culture that kids understand this.
He's a teacher, and I think that's the key. To be a good coach, you have to be a great teacher, and he was and is.
You can make, and this is what he did so well, he could make average athletes great competitors.
We're just unbelievably fortunate to have somebody, a man of his caliber, associated with this program.
It's amazing what Coach Wilkins did to go above and beyond. His commitment is not typical. But then again, this program is not typical. The commitment of these kids is not typical.
For my dad, what seems to differentiate him, in my opinion, over a lot of other coaches is, you know, he really enjoys making a difference in kids' lives and you know, staying in touch with these kids and understanding how they're doing. It's you know, the relationship doesn't end when the season's over.
In 2009, after 44 years being a coach, a teacher, and a principal, Coach Wilkins made one of the hardest decisions of his life. He decided it was time to retire.
I know this wasn't easy. But I know he felt like he couldn't give what he demands from this program, and I think that, you know, that's how he knew it was time to leave.
You know, I've used the expression often, you know, we've created a monster here, and you got to feed it. You know, it's great being undefeated, but, you know, it takes a lot of work on the part of a lot of people, and, you know, including me. And you just don't collect the equipment and show up 4 or 5 months later. If I could do that, you know, I'd coach another 10 years. But, you know, the way we operate this program, you know, we're going all the time. But that's what this community and school deserves, and that's what these kids deserve.
It wasn't about football for us. For the last 44 years, 588 players' lives were dramatically touched by Coach. We went on to be fathers, husbands, workers, and human beings. And we were better at all those things because of him.
There is no athletic program that I'm aware of that can mimic what the Herd experience was for me and for just about everyone else I knew who went through this program. He's a friend, a mentor. He's Coach Wilkins.
There's no one that's had more of an influence on my sons' lives than Doug Wilkins. And what more can you say than that, huh?
One of the nicest things that Coach Wilkins has ever done for me is I have a learning disabled child, and had moved out of town for 13 years and came back. My son was a freshman, and Coach saw that he was going to have a problem getting along with kids, and he immediately came to me and said, "Let's make him manager of the football team." And it brought my son from here to there. It was, to me, it brings tears to my eyes that he would come to me and do that, you know. And that's what the Herd's all about.
You know, I've had 3 boys go through it, and I read once, it's a tribute to coaches in general who retire, and it's called The Final Score. And it goes something like, you know, at the last seconds of the last quarter of the last game, the score is not so many wins for us, so many wins for them, so many touchdowns for us, so many touchdowns for them. And the real final score is in so many men out of so many boys. And I think that of all the things that Doug accomplished, that was it.
Coach Wilkins, you took a very confused kid and helped him get through a difficult time. And
Coach, we spent 4 years together in high school. I think about you every single day, the lessons that you've taught me and the values that you've instilled in me have made my life so much better.
And I'm hoping that I can bring on some of these values to the kids, and I thank you for kind of setting up the roadmap and for always being a good friend, a good supporter, and you know, most of all, you know, the guy that we always called Coach, so thank you.
I got nothing else but thank you a million times over.
Thank you for what you did for Cade, and what you did for me. I'll always love you.
Thank you for the best 4 years of my life.
Thank you for giving me the lessons, the tools.
can never thank you enough. Thanks, Coach.
So, Coach, from all of us, thanks for the wins. Thanks for the fun. Thanks for the lessons. Thank you for the love. You tell us how lucky you are to have had us, but we insist, Coach, we are the lucky ones.
I'll always be here for you like you've been here for me.
And I love you, and I think you know that. Thanks for everything.
You know, I just have a feeling that I'll never be alone. I mean, I can pick up a phone and there's probably close to 590 kids that I could call and say, hey, look, I need help. Could you be here? And I think I would not be denied.
Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your
this town and these kids have been appreciative of what I've done, and how great is that? I mean, they recognize the work and the excellence, and they're so appreciative of it. That's a great feeling to go through your life with, you know what I'm saying?
Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
When I feel that chill, smell that fresh cut grass, I'm back in my helmet, cleats and shoulder pads, standing in the huddle, listening to the call. Fans going crazy for the boys of fall. They didn't let just anybody in that club. Took every ounce of heart and sweat and blood to get to wear those game day jerseys down the hall. Kings of the school, man, where the boys are fall. Well, it's turning face to stars and stripes. It's batting back them butterflies. It's calling in the air, all right, yes sir, we want the ball. And it's knocking heads and talking trash. It's slinging mud and dirt and grass. It's I got your number, I got your back. When your back's against the wall, you mess with one man, you got us all. The boys are fall. In little towns like mine, that's all they got. Newspaper clippings fill the coffee shops. The old men will always think they know it all. Young girls